Packers coming off a huge win on Thanksgiving Day against the 8-2, now 8-3 Lions. Can they repeat history against the 8-3 Chiefs? Or will MVP caliber Mahomes keep finding ways to win with his mashup of wide receivers?
We break down this single game Fanduel primetime matchup. We are a safe to broadcast at work, so feel free to watch or listen to it in the background so that you will have all the insights for each player by position, as well as some game scripting theories that will help you make the best possible lineups in the shortest amount of time.
Welcome to DFS Insights. I am David Geistlinger, and I'm joined by my cousin, David Grant Jr. The teams up on the block are the Kansas City Chiefs at the Green Bay Packers.
This went from yet another mediocre primetime matchup to one that suddenly has playoff implications while Green Bay is resurging and the Chiefs are still hanging in there. So, with that, let's jump on over to the overview, shall we?
Resurging for sure. Coming off, they were 3-6. Green Bay's won their last two, putting them here at 5-6. Still obviously below 500, but the teams, at least the last two games, look like they're clicking. Kansas City obviously doing Kansas City things. Sitting at 8-3. How they're 8-3 with, I couldn't even probably tell you any of the receivers' names, but we'll go over that here in a little bit. But as far as breaking down just the big scope overview of the game, Packers are coming in the underdogs. Chiefs are favored by 6 points, and this is at Green Bay too, the frozen tundra. We're entering December. The weather's looking like it will be slightly snowing Saturday into Sunday morning. It looks like it will be clear for the game, but that just means slushy turf, sitting at 30 degrees with a wind chill of about 20. For the Chiefs to be favored, that's pretty rough. It kind of shows you what kind of season Green Bay's had so far. Where I do see the Green Bay having the edge in this, it looks like they do run the ball a little bit more often, percent-wise, sitting about 38% to Chiefs 33. So if the weather does come into play, Green Bay kind of already has that run game scripted, but Aaron Jones, it says he's questionable. He's not playing. He hasn't practiced all week. He's literally been injured, I would say, every game. For him to come back a few games just to get hurt again, he's been injured every game this season. They should just sit him until he's completely healthy, or risk, permanently injuring him. And then what does that do us if we do make a run? Chiefs, their offense kind of speaks for itself. How Mahomes is doing what he's doing. He always seems to find a way to win. Their schedule, is no joke. The strength of the schedule so far is fourth hardest. So sitting at 8-3, that is saying something. Green Bay 5-6, and their strength of the schedule is 21. So I think that's pretty rough. As far as the over/under on this game, it's sitting at 42.5. I do think the weather might be playing a factor into that. Not to mention, outside the last two games, Green Bay hasn't scored a touchdown in the first half of football. So that will also, factor into that over/under score. But what do you see from these two teams, just kind of as a flyover before we get into the the individual player analysis?
Yeah. It's to me a much more exciting matchup had this happened 2-3 weeks ago. I've been watching quite a bit of Green Bay playing and watching them basically dismantle Detroit. Detroit's supposed to be in this new big bad wolf. I am a big Dan Campbell fan of Detroit, head coach. But Jared Goff and his Butterfingers seem to be, seem to be shining through, and that's why no one's, that's why the Rams got rid of him. It was the Rams, some West Coast team. But
Rams,
anyway, um, so yeah, Green Bay's looking like a squad, and it's not like Jordan Love has, you know, all these weapons to throw to or anything crazy. It's like they're banding together as a team, and I think Jordan Love looked phenomenal last game. That is the Jordan Love I thought that the Green Bay Packers were getting. I think in this type of game and this environment with the weather, man, Pacheco, kind of hopping over to Pacheco, it's going to be a run-heavy game. Jordan Love can do it with his feet. Like you mentioned, Aaron Jones is going to be out. He's going to be out. Dylan still has a groin injury. So because this is going to be a run-heavy game, I am a little afraid for Green Bay since they just don't have much firing from there. Besides, they're hurt, and then Jordan Love would be the other running back, really. So because of the weather and it being a run-heavy game, the spread being 6 points, I mean, I think that kind of tells you. Usually, I think that might be a little higher, but with the weather being what it is, and the way both teams have been playing, I mean, you can't really hate the Chiefs too much, coming off losing to Philly, and then, it was actually a solid game against the Raiders. The Raiders had them. The Raiders were up for quite a bit of that game, so, yeah, I mean, I actually see this game being pretty close. I think if anyone runs away with it, it is going to be the Chiefs via running. I don't see the need for many kickers. I guess we'll get to that once we get to the once we get to the players and stuff. I see the over/under being under, especially anytime with weather factoring in. When you have to factor the weather in, that's going to be less field goals. That's going to be, it could lead to more turnovers with the ball popping out, but you're not going to see people going for crazy field goals if it's slightly windy and slushy and rainy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree there for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think with that, we could even kind of get over to the player analysis to kind of, like, I didn't want to give away too much of the player analysis while going over the game script.
Yeah,
so
no problem. Yeah, I can start with the quarterbacks, breaking down the QBs to start things off. So everybody knows Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he really needs an introduction. So obviously, his stats do look good for a regular quarterback. However, the stats for Patrick Mahomes, as himself, are actually the lowest passer rating and passing yards he's ever had as a Chief. So he's not having the best season as a quarterback as far as number wise. I mean, fantasy point, he's doing pretty good. He did have a really terrible game here against Denver, but I mean, for the most part, he's averaging, high teens. He did have an upside of about 35 here, so yeah, I'm used to seeing Patrick Mahomes, a little bit better, but these aren't bad numbers. I think Patrick Mahomes' more issue is not necessarily him. It's like, who are his receivers? Who is he throwing it to? I can probably tell you everybody that has dropped balls that Patrick Mahomes has thrown to, but as far as catching them, that's a difference. Obviously, we'll talk about, the wide receiver one, aka tight end Kelsey, here in a little bit. But as far as, I can see why the numbers or the passer rating, passing yards, are lower than they typically would, is because I think he seriously throws to 10 different targets each game. Like, he doesn't have a clear number one receiver, designated receiver. So other than that, he's still winning games. He's 8-3 with a strength, schedule strength of 4. So obviously he's doing something right. He's making it happen. So stats or no stats, he's doing it for his team. Now, whether that's gonna, be good for us as DFS players, he might be more of a gamble than he typically would. Usually Mahomes, you're like, yeah, Mahomes, Kelsey, boom, lock. But that might, I think especially in this game, Green Bay's defense is looking pretty good last few games. They just turned over Goff 3 times on Thanksgiving, forced fumbled him. So if we can get to Mahomes, I think we have a chance there too. Hopping over to Love, obviously everybody in Green Bay had high hopes for him. He didn't start this season off well. Other than his numbers here on DFS on the weeks 2 through 4 were okay, but like if you actually watch those games, it was kind of literally fourth quarter, like that's where all the points came in. Everybody's looking at the record saying, oh, he's what did Green Bay doing? But if you look at Jordan Love's stats as a quarterback, they are eerily identical to Aaron Rodgers at this point. Like they both have exactly 2,599 passing yards. Both have a passing/rushing touchdowns of 21. I think Jordan Love has 4 more interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. But like those stats over the course of their first 11, 12 games are the exact same. Am I comparing Love to Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. That's to be seen. He has a long way to go in his career before, he's at the table with Rodgers. But the last 2 games, he's looking pretty good. I think maybe, I've been saying it, they just needed to let him go. Let him learn. I think they were being really reserved with him. He doesn't have a strong receiving core, similar like Patrick Mahomes. It's all rookies and sophomores. So, obviously they're developing. He's developing. This is his first year starting. So, he's doing good for what he's doing. As far as what's going to happen in this game, I will have exposure to Jordan Love. I think, a lot of people are going to see Mahomes and run to him, namesake-wise. But as far as Jordan Love, I think he has very high upside. The Chiefs do not have a good defense, so that's kind of my view. I'll be definitely over the field on Love and under the field on Mahomes. And that's not I'm saying Love is better. I'm saying as a DFS perspective, the upside for Jordan Love has better implications for the scripting that I'll be doing.
Yeah.
So sorry to long-winded there, but what do you think on the quarterbacks here?
Hey, it's all good. Hey, Green Bay's your squad, so we're gonna get the most information from you with Green Bay anyway. So that works for me. I personally, I will also be kind of continuing your thought. I'll be over the field on Jordan Love and under the field on Patrick Mahomes as well. I see this being a lower scoring game. And with Patrick Mahomes at 17-5, that's just a lot, especially if I'm picturing a run heavy game script, which I do. I think it's going to be more of a Pacheco or something like that. We both know Jordan Love, mobile quarterback, and again, it's tough to say who he's going to be handing the ball off to. I think I saw last game, Watson even get a rushing touchdown. I believe it was Watson, and it's all because of the way it was tossed. Yeah, he has a receiving touchdown, 5 for 7. Was it Watson? It was either Watson. It had to be Watson. Watson to Dobbs. Anyway, I believe it was Watson, because they did a reverse type thing, and it's because he got a toss. It was tossed to him instead of thrown.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting the rushing touchdown. So Green Bay does have a couple plays up its sleeve. where it does kind of copy the 49ers the way we use Debo, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some of that type of action going on due to a lot of your running backs, RB1 and RB2, being hurt. And, you know, I was just kind of taking a peek. Patrick Mahomes' interceptions this year. I mean, Jordan Love has 10, but Patrick Mahomes has 9. So, I mean, and again, like you mentioned, the strength of schedule can come into play. Patrick Mahomes definitely holds on to the ball better when it comes to the fumbling aspect. So, little rough, you know, and if it's going to be snowy, slushy, rainy, muddy, that could spell a little trouble for Jordan Love. So that'll be interesting. Definitely, everybody out there, keep your eye on the weather up to game time. 15-20 minutes before lock, see what the field looks like, see what your exposure is. Take it from me. Just do it. So, you know, don't get me wrong. I'll have a little bit of exposure to Patrick Mahomes. You'd be a fool not to. But I will be under the field with him. I think after that, you know, that kind of takes us over to the running backs. You know, I will be definitely heavy on Pacheco. And I'm not just being biased because of last game. He did have 15 rushing attempts, 55 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 for 5, 5 targets, 5 catches for 34 yards, and 23 fantasy points. If you notice, the 1, 2, 3, you know, 3 games before that, you know, nothing too crazy going on. However, you know, towards the beginning of the year, he was really being utilized, you know, against Chicago, against the Jets, against the Chargers. And I see them going, the last couple of games, and even if the numbers aren't there, this dude's just been a beast. I'm just going to leave it at that. I like him a lot, so I'll be having a lot of exposure to him. I could see it, as you mentioned, Travis Kelce. It's going to be Travis Kelce and Pacheco really getting this game done for the Chiefs. I mean, Kelce's going to get him downfield somewhat, or Pacheco will, and then when they're in the red zone, Pacheco's taking it in, or as they all do that, Mahomes will back out, Kelce will do his little route, he'll catch it. I mean, it is what it is. Running backs for your Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones, only if that dude was 100%. If he was 100% and was the Aaron Jones I know and love, this would be a game. This would be a ball game. AJ Dillon, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think he's going to be a little forced because of the weather and whatnot to be a part of this game. I'm not. And then, yeah, you got Patrick Taylor. I think he's the rookie that you guys have. It's a little dicey there, especially since, like, this is a must-win for Green Bay. You guys are in the playoff hunt, so it's like you're going out. This could be playoff level for you guys because you guys are still in the hunt.
Absolutely is. This, I mean, we need it. I mean, we're sitting at 5-6. Detroit's probably going to take the division, so no, this is definitely win mode.
And Detroit doesn't have the easiest schedule, I don't think, coming up either, and now they could be spiraling. I mean, that's, dude, they squeaked that out against the Bears, and we know how bad the Bears are, and then to have that performance on Thanksgiving, I mean, they're falling apart. So this is big for you guys. So to be honest, it's going to be as veteran as it can get for you guys, I think.
As far as Pacheco, you were saying, I don't know, I kept saying even last game that we did for the Thanksgiving one, I thought Montgomery and Gibbs were just going to light up Green Bay because we're just not known for our run defense. We're not. I mean, going back, I could probably to 2010. When we won the Super Bowls, when we had everybody can be like, oh wow, Green Bay had a defense. But yeah, I thought Montgomery and Gibbs were going to light us up, and we actually held them because I know I went pretty heavy on Montgomery and Gibbs in that game, and was well, it sucked because it was obvious I didn't do well in the DFS, but I was surprised, being a Green Bay fan. I'll be a little bit more hesitant. I'm going to be extra cautious with the weather because I think I might go a little bit under right now on Pacheco just because Green Bay is looking like they're sitting at about 9th on, rushing against RB1s for the opposing team. So if we can hold Pacheco, then, but he does get the touches 15, 19, 16. So he's going to be on the field. He's going to get the touches. Can he break one away? Absolutely. So I'm just going to be looking at that weather condition. Obviously, if it's the weather condition's bad, it's going to be a little bit more run heavy. Obviously, I'm going to be, a little bit more than I plan on, using Pacheco. So as far as Green Bay's running backs, to me, Jones isn't playing, so we don't really need to discuss him. If for some miracle he does play, I'd be highly hesitant on his snap count, and that would be like the ultimate, I don't know, ballsy moves in that 12-5, just praying that he comes back and, is that typical Aaron Jones that we all know. Dylan at 12K is hard for me. Last year I would say all day Dylan, I can see 12K, with Jones being probably about 14 or so. But Dylan he's averaging like anywhere 2.5 to 3 yards a carry. Hasn't really had a touchdown since week 5. So there's not too much. Obviously, if it's like I said, the weather implications, he's going to get more touches. I can see him just being used in that aspect. I personally think, and I've in a few forums and stuff, Discords, and I think Patrick Taylor is a far superior, running back. Why? Obviously, even a few other in the DFS community think so. He has the ability. It's just I don't know why, the Green Bay is not giving him a chance to go. He's only, I think Dylan got 14, 15 carries last game. He only got 3 or 4 carries. So if you're not on on the field, you ain't getting the points. So at 9.5, it would just be a pure weather play, I think. Just if they're running the ball 50% of the time, right? Because of the weather, he's going to be, that would be a viable option. But other than that, it's Dylan, and that's a tough play.
And at least we could kind of game script. I say this as Green Bay smashed Detroit like right out the gates, but if you were to game script, the Chiefs being up just a little bit, a touchdown, and then Green Bay scores, but then Chiefs score a touchdown, and kind of just doing the chase.
Yeah.
That Green Bay would be throwing a little bit more anyway, and again, Aaron Jones, it's his MCL. There's just no way. That's your medial collateral ligament. That's your side-to-side movement. There's just no way, especially in icy, slippery, or mud. It's just not smart. Just isn't smart.
We are coming off the extra few days because we did play Thursday, Thanksgiving. So I'm hoping to see a few players back, but I really, I want Aaron Jones back, but I don't want him back this week. I want him back 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Get him 98% healthy. I want him to come back and not get hit one time and go out for 3 weeks again. So,
because then you'd be dangerous. Imagine if you are still in the playoff hunt, in the next 3 weeks. Then that you want Aaron Jones, and then all of a sudden you get him back at 95, 98%. Ooh, dangerous.
Yeah, so not too much to say. Obviously, a little bit more with the running backs if the weather is bad or the field conditions. Even if the weather's clear, definitely check the field conditions too. Moving over to the wide receivers, if you want to go ahead and start it off talking about them, but I think it's going to be kind of the same play. Definitely watch out for weather.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously Romeo Dobbs. I definitely like him a lot. He does seem to be the red zone target when you guys get there. He's been a beast. He has scored touchdowns in 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 6 games. He's 3 for 3, 3 for 5, 5 for 6, 3 for 4. He gets in the red zone. That's huge. So I definitely like Dobbs. Plus, he's not injured. There's nothing by his name. Jaden Reed seems to constantly have something next to him. Don't get me wrong, he's still been balling. Either way, and again, I think it has to do. I think he's the guy that also is like rushing.
Yeah.
He gets rushing attempts for you guys.
Yeah.
So that's not showing up in the box score, which it's kind of funny. Christian McCaffrey it shows both. Even though he's a running back, but then when wide receivers are being used as running backs, they should show that on here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't. Whatever. I guess doing the deeper dive, that, and if not, you don't. But yeah, Jaden Reed, man, he's been balling. He's been great. He's playing regardless of what it says about his chest. He played against Detroit. He also had the designation. He's got multiple touchdowns over the last couple games. He's catching the ball. He's running the ball. He's doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having quite a bit of exposure to him is also smart. And Christian Watson. Oh, Christian Watson. I mean, I was going to this dude multiple times, and I finally gave up on him against Detroit when I really needed him, and he scores a lot. I think he had 2. If not, it's the yards and the reception.
Yeah, yards.
But yeah, I mean, is he finally kind of breaking out, doing something? I mean, could be. They all could be clicking at the right time. So at 10-5, not going Patrick Mahomes actually gives you some leeway to make some pretty decent lineups, to be honest. I know that sounds crazy, but some of these other guys might be able to make up that difference. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a ceiling game, or whatnot. And then, sorry, as I just kind of glanced down. Yep. So then if I hop over to the Chiefs, I'm not going to say Travis Kelce till we get to the tight ends. We all know that's the number 1 target. Rashid Rice has started to kind of separate himself, at least against the Raiders last game. He finally broke out and had over 100 yards. He had 10 targets, which was just about double he had all season. He caught 8 of them, 107 yards and a touchdown. They are trying to make him the number 1. So, but behind Kelce. So the question is, it's going to be a wild game depending on the weather. I saw the Vantlitz-Scantling and then even Kadarius Toney drop. I've seen Sky Moore drops.
Justin Watson.
It's been rough out there.
Justin Watson drops.
Yeah, and Watson. Yeah, it's just, man, it's rough out there.
I'll say if it wasn't for those drops, I guarantee you they would probably be 11-0.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I mean, I saw the frustration on Mahomes' face. I watched some behind the scenes stuff, this, that, the other. Uh, it must be frustrating
Yeah.
making just the best, just right in the breadbasket, and then it's just frustrating for the game too. Like you said, this isn't just a play. This is like to win the
Mm-hmm.
game, and they're being dropped.
Yeah.
So. Um, that this is one of those make multiple lineups and have some exposure a little bit everywhere, because Patrick Mahomes does have the record this year for throwing the most touchdowns to the most different receivers. So he's spreading it around. Who knows? Rashid Rice does seem to be the number one. Um, I would just, if you're only making 1 to 3 lineups, involve him. Don't, no need to go much deeper than that. What are your thoughts on the receivers?
Yeah. Starting with, I'll start with Kansas City since we just finished up with them. Give my opinion on them. Rashid Rice, yeah, they are trying to make him number one. He did have a breakout game against the Raiders, but I just don't think. I mean, I don't think Mahomes trusts him. Obviously, he's throwing it to him, and maybe after this game, he'll look at Rashid Rice a little bit more. But I just think the events leading up, he's very leery on his wide receivers. My note right here just says, "Who are Kansas City wide receivers really? Like, who are they? Like, list me wide receivers 1, 2, and 3." You're like, well, sometimes it's Rice, sometimes it's Watson. Down here, like was it 2 games ago? Watson 11. He was the Rashid Rice. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're taking turns. So unfortunately, it's just like you gotta do multiple lineups if you're going like the Chiefs' direction with their wide receivers, because whose turn is it now? Is he going to give Valdez-Scantling another chance at that game-winning drop? It looks like he did right here versus the Chargers. But he did miss the game winner. Like you said, perfect. I mean, he took the blame for it. He said he could have thrown it shorter, but no, he should have caught that. Kadarius Toney, I think, maybe kind of solidified his role as like wide receiver 4 or 5 with those huge drops in the beginning of the season. I think he kind of just started off wrong, there. But yeah, unfortunately, Mahomes just throws it to. It just seems like anybody. Like, dude can be on the sidelines catching Mahomes passes. So, yeah, it's gonna be difficult to narrow down, and unfortunately, it's just basically going to amount down to you're going to do one lineup with Rashid Rice, and then you're going to swap it out for the next receiver, and then kind of play around with it that way. And I feel the same, unfortunately, with Green Bay. You have what? 3 rookies and 2 sophomores. So Jaden Reed, to me, has been, at least production-wise, to me, their number one wide receiver. They're utilizing him. He's getting the targets, he's getting the touchdowns, he's getting the rushing, the running plays. So here you can see 6 and 4, 46 yards, but he's sitting at 17. So he had a rushing touchdown in this game against the Chargers. So he's basically had 3 touchdowns, in a row the last 3 games here. Christian Watson is looking like he's what he should have been. What everybody expected him to be in his second year. It looks like, he had that huge play, I think, to start off the game. It was about 40 or 50 yards. The one play, he did end up catching a touchdown, so he's on a little hot streak here too. Dobbs, it looks like with Love is also spreading the ball around as well. So with that, I do, those 3 are pretty much all the same. I think Reed has a little bit more potential because they do have those running plays with him. But Dobbs has, some sure hands. Watson is just that fast outside, run down the sidelines receiver. To catch that. I'm looking at this Deontay Wicks. He had a heck of a game against the Chargers, and then he was out for a concussion. But he's also a rookie. He's technically their wide receiver 4, and I think obviously this game he might not get too many opportunities simply because if it is the weather. And he made a horrible comment saying that he's getting used to the weather because he's never played in this kind of weather. So it's like, dude, you don't admit that, and so now your opponents, kind of know weakness. So, and that's also another thing about these receivers. None of them have played Green Bay in December before, so they're all getting used to it. Obviously, they practice there and things like that, so they do have an advantage. But, players that are veterans coming in, Kansas City, Mahomes, Kelsey, they've played there before. They've done it. So they're used to it. They know how to adjust. They know what a 20-degree frozen football feels like getting thrown. So I'll be looking at him. But yeah, so it just seems like a crazy wide receiver core this matchup. It's unfortunately if I had to pick one from each team, I'm thinking obviously maybe Rice and Reed would be my 2 favorites going in. I'll probably have quite a bit of them, but also I'll be sprinkling in basically all the other ones just to try to be diverse because who knows who's going to get it.
Yeah. Yep.
But
100%.
Moving over to the true wide receiver 1, the tight end Travis Kelce for the Kansas City. There's really not too much to say. Travis Kelce is Patrick Mahomes' favorite target, and for a reason. He catches everything, and he's a heck of a player. Few games here, I think he was maybe hurt. He had like a little injury he did play through, but I mean, he gets the targets, he catches them. It doesn't matter really what. Travis Kelce trusts him at critical moments in time. Hopefully his head's in the right game. I know he, have to mention, Taylor Swift or whatnot, but hopefully she might not be at the game because there might be competition between her and Simone Biles, who's married to the Green Bay guy, so have a all-star fan base in Green Bay, which we'll see. But no, Travis Kelce, you don't have to talk too much about him. Everybody knows Green Bay, I think, is weak against the tight end position here. Travis Kelce's been in the optimal lineup the last 2 weeks, and Green Bay's 23rd, giving up about a half a touchdown over the last 11 games to tight ends. So obviously, and Kelce just being a beast, he's going to get his. I had high hopes for Musgrave, the tight end for Green Bay. Obviously, he's on the IR now. So it looked like Tucker Kraft stepped into the role pretty well, sitting at 7,500. He went 2 for 2 and a touchdown. So he did get the red zone opportunity. They are using him similar to what Musgrave is. So I believe that was actually his first start against Detroit. I think he did get a few catches in charges, but his start was Detroit. So maybe his role increases here, especially with maybe shorter passes for the weather conditions. So definitely look at him as a lower salary player that you can utilize. Other than that, I don't see too much. Josiah Guevara, he was utilized a little bit, but I think he kind of fell behind Kraft, so I wouldn't see him as a viable option. But what are your opinions on the tight ends of this matchup?
So tight ends on this matchup, I'll keep it brief since you pretty much nailed it. So no need to talk about Kelce. We all know, plug him, play him. I also actually like Noah Gray for Kansas City, especially at 6,000. I am seeing he does only have, it appears to be at least one receiving touchdown. Judging by the numbers, it looks about right. But, he is 3 for 3 last game for 30 yards. He went 0 for 1 against Philly. But then 3 for 3 for 34 yards against Miami, 2 for 3 for 25 yards, and then 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 2 for 2. This second back half of the game, he's, especially at 6,000, he can get you, that 7 to 12 fantasy points for sure. And at 6,000, he's going to be low owned. This is going to be, again, judging by the weather, a pretty ugly game, and a low scoring one at that. And I think that these passes are not going to be, the number of passes that are going to be 10 plus yards, let alone 15 or 20 plus yards, I think are going to be much less than usual. And I know that Patrick Mahomes already, I think, is in the lower end of the league and throwing over 20-yard passes anyway. So with that being said, I do like Noah Gray. And then, as you mentioned, Musgrave being out, that's a little too bad. I hope he recovers quickly. Tucker Kraft did step in and do what was asked of him. So his price has gone up to 7,500. Definitely viable. Definitely viable. So yeah, Travis Kelce, definitely have him in one of your, if you're making 3 lineups, you better have him in one of them, if not 2, but just at least put him in one. And then, I'm making, 10 lineups, 10, let's just call it 10. I am going to have Noah Gray in like a lineup, maybe 2, and then I'll have Tucker Kraft in a lineup, maybe 2. And that's not to say that's not also the lineup with Kelce. I'm just saying kind of my exposure. So, with that, we could kind of...
Let me say one thing I forgot to mention. I have it written down here about Jaden Reed to jump back over to the wide receivers. But so Jaden Reed, rookie year, right? He is first in catches over. He has 4 catches, 10 plus yards. So he's first in the NFL. He's second in the NFL with, so that's 20 plus 10 plus yards rushing. He has over 4 for over 10 yards. So he's first in the NFL, which I thought was surprising, being a wide receiver.
Yeah.
He has 20 plus yards passing. He has catching obviously, but he has 3, so he's second there. Sorry, my bad. He has 20 plus yards catching. 10, he's tied for second. Sorry, my handwriting is atrocious, everybody. My bad, I apologize. Yards reception, yards per catch, he's averaging 13.8. He's third in the NFL. And total touchdowns, he has 6, and he's tied for 4th. So that being a rookie, so he is balling. And so keep an eye on, if you think it's going to be a passing game in Green Bay, I highly suggest, plugging in Reed there. So not to divert or anything, but back over to the kickers and defenses. Kickers, I think they're both basically equal here. Highly look out for the weather, because that's going to play a factor in whether, they're going to kick these longer field goals. Carlson's been doing pretty good, and also Buckner. They're going to, if I don't see him, I'm not going to have too much exposure. I'm not going to say I'm not going to have any, but it's going to be basically, salary dependent. And obviously weather as well. Hate to keep harping on the weather, but that's going to be huge in how I'm going to script this game. So I just want to point that out to everybody. I don't think I'll have too much exposure to the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't see them having a great defense. I haven't, heard the headlines. Oh, look at Kansas City Chiefs defense last week. Haven't seen that. Just looking here at their numbers, it looks like they did have a few games here. Sacks wise, they had 1 defensive touchdown, Looks like they do force fumbles quite a bit and a few interceptions, but I don't know. Green Bay's looking pretty good offensive wise, so I think I would especially lean Green Bay's defense at 8,500. Mahomes has a low, the lowest he's done, so hopefully Green Bay can get in there. I think Green Bay defense will be higher owned than Kansas City, so that might not, you plug it in as you will. But the Kansas City also has the chance to score 35 points. So so keep that in mind. I don't know. I'll be lower probably lower on the field on all four, the defenses and the kickers, to be honest. Unless you go like some crazy lineup like Mahomes and Kelsey and you're limited in salary, those might come into play. But I think if you throw in if you go like a Jordan Love lineup and you can throw in three other 10,000 plus people, I don't think you're really gonna, unless you stripping it for a straight slog, which it might be. Then that's why I said I'm not gonna say no to defenses, but I think I'll be lower than normal for those.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I did pull up Kansas City's defense. Well, as I glanced at both, I mean, as far as the defense goes for Green Bay, I mean, you guys only have the one game against Detroit that you scored a bunch of defensive fantasy points. Mm-hmm. If you were just game log trolling and then looked up Kansas City, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they got 6 games where they scored double digits with their defense. Now that can be misleading. What I like to do is see, okay, how many points did this team score against them? So Detroit scored 15 points against the Chiefs. And again, that was September 7th, beginning of the year. But nonetheless, they did score 15. And if we go to Chicago, they scored 10. Which Chicago's terrible. Dude, the Jets, who they lost to, scored 8. You and me have forced to watch several Jets games. Can you imagine the Jets scoring 18 fantasy points? I'm sorry, 18 real life. Yeah. This is real life points on the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know how that offense with Zach Wilson, I don't know how that's feasible, but it happened. And, Denver scored 24, but Denver's been kind of on a roll now. Miami only scored 14. That's very interesting. Yeah. And, Philly 21, the Raiders 17. Yeah, it's tough. Again, if it's going to be a low-scoring game, I'm not really here to go kickers, but I do think one of the defenses might end up being optimal. So, we'll see. I will be underexposed either way.
Yeah, well, let's see what kind of exposure you actually have in your lineup here. We'll send it over to now giving you David's lineup, and he'll break down his thought process on why he picked it.
And not to throw a giant curveball, and this is a DF Insights first. I have most of what my lineup is showing up here, but after kind of reevaluating in real time, I have decided I am keeping Pacheco at MVP. I do see him. It's going to be a run-heavy game. I think he'll be a low-owned MVP. I can very easily see one of the quarterbacks being there as usual. And with Pacheco at 13.5, I mean, he's like the fourth person down, basically, somewhere around there. I mean, I don't have it fully together over here, but yeah, he's not going to be highly owned at MVP. The major change I made was I took out McKinnon and Dobbs, and I put in Jaden Reed and Noah Gray. After reevaluating, I wanted to match up Jordan Love, who's at the bottom, with the receiver, which is why I was going Dobbs. But seeing the price difference and knowing that Reed not only is like the number one receiver, but he's like the number one offensive weapon, and seeing the other things that he can do on just, on with running the ball, he's just really involved in the offense. So I'd be a fool not to go there. And again, I have Jordan Love down there, so I need to match him up with someone. And then
I just updated on the screen here, so the I
nice.
did a quick little change there, so everybody can get a visual of it if you're watching it.
All right, so yeah, we got the live update going on. Appreciate that, David. That makes hey, see, we're running a real operation over here. That's what's up. And so, as I mentioned, if it's going to be kind of a grimy game, Travis Kelce's usually the one that's going to step up. I mean, that's Mahomes' security blanket. And after his fumble last game, is one fumble a year, I think he's really going to want to come back and shine. I mean, it's not often. I'm sorry, he already had the game after the fumble, but nonetheless, I'm sure that's still eating at him, because you could argue that cost him the game. You could argue Van Scatling, blah, XYZ. We all know what happened there. But anyway, Jaden Reed, put him in your lineup. There's just no way to not have this guy. And then Noah Gray, this lets you fit in. I mean, notice I got a 13.5, 11, a 14.5, and a 15K guy. And Noah Gray at 6,000 is someone that can pay off that salary. I mean, he's going to get some targets. I have seen him get some red zone targets. He does have a touchdown this season against the Jets, who were a good defense. I don't know how you want to phrase that these days. And going the double tight end here, again, Mahomes doesn't have a wide receiver 1, a wide receiver 2. It's like he's throwing to everybody. So Noah Gray has just as good of a chance, if not better, than the other guys down here. Sky Moore's 1,000 more. He is, again, could go to him. It could go to Van Scatling. It could go to Justin Watson. I'm taking the cheapest guy who I know is going to get targets so I could stack the rest of my lineup. So what are your thoughts, David? I do have 2 Green Bay and 3 Kansas City guys. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I have a feeling it. At the 0, salary remaining, you had to do something that's gonna differentiate you from, potentially being a highly chalk lineup. And I think kind of going with Pacheco at MVP does that, because I think the quarterbacks and probably Kelce will probably take the top spot there. I think Pacheco, if I had to put an estimate on it, he'll probably be less than 8% probably MVP. Yeah. He'll be definitely owned as far as in the MVP slot. Yeah. I don't think he'll be too high. Jaden Reed definitely have ownership. I guarantee you he'll be highly owned. Travis Kelce, similar. Yeah. Noah Gray, I think he'll be owned more than you think, but just for the salary, similar to kind of your thinking about it. But going to 2 tight end, I think that also sets you different, because how often do you see that? And like you said, with the 6,000, the payoff that he needs to be in the optimal is less, especially if these higher guys can, carry their weight. So that definitely would set you apart. And then going Jordan Love, being the, obviously probably the lower owned quarterback in this. So yeah, no, I see it as a good lineup. obviously it's going to be, game script, how you're thinking it. So, this is, I think, a good lineup for a large field GPP. Will it be duped? It might, but it could also, with the two tight ends and, Pacheco, it'd be pretty hard, unless obviously, people are doing 150, entries and stuff like that. Then, the variations.
Hey, even then, over under 15 dupes.
Oh no, I see less than that.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I was picturing like like 4 to 7 was my.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll be way less than what I'm working with here, because I'm also switching over mine. I have a 0 salary remaining lineup. I went with the 4-1 Green Bay, and this is not me fanboying being a Green Bay. I think everybody's going in thinking Kansas City's going to win this game. I'm going in it with, Green Bay's the underdog, probably lower owned than the Kansas City, side of things. So, I'm approaching this at a DFS standpoint as ownership, because that's like the huge part of these large field GPP tournaments. I think this will definitely be duped, definitely chalky, just because of the players that I'm using going over. Jordan Love at MVP. Just hopefully he has one of those, the last 2 games, if he can put out, those numbers. I'd be happy. That would solidify him as a decent MVP. I think he'll probably be second highest owned MVP, next to he might be second or third. It'll probably go Mahomes, Kelsey, then Love, or it'll be Mahomes, Love, and then Kelsey. So then obviously using Jordan Reed just because of the utility. He's both receiver and potential for the run plays. Travis Kelsey, I think, is probably the best run back I could do. This would also be the spot where I would do like a variation of this lineup and throw in Pacheco here, because then I would leave 1,000 on the table, and have a similar lineup as this. And then this, obviously be like, oh, I like this one a little bit better because of the weather, so I'll throw in the running back. So this lineup gives me a bunch of options as well, where I can do this same exact lineup. Instead of Jaden Reed being the most expensive Green Bay, I can throw in Dobbs here instead. I can throw in Watson in here instead, and then all it's doing is just giving me salary left, which is less likely to be duped. So then, as Kelsey, obviously, like I said, best run back I can do from the other team. AJ Dillon, much as I didn't want to do it, I had to go with the ground, because Green Bay, they're either going to throw it or they're going to run it. So, for some reason, as much as I want them to use Patrick Taylor, obviously they don't listen to me, and they've been using AJ Dillon. So hopefully he has a decent game at 12K. Should be a decent game. Tucker Kraft, he did get that red zone target. He did get a touchdown, so I'm hoping he continues at least being thought of as a red zone target, and the potential for him there. And then being at 7,500 too, I think he'll be a little bit lower owned aspect there. So I do see this as a chalky lineup. I do also see this as a winning lineup as far as coming in, first, probably, potentially not, but I have a feeling this will be a good, lineup to win some money, and then also a building block to do those variations that could be used for a little bit more contrarian, throwing, if you threw in Wicks here instead, wide receiver 4, that takes 3,000 off the table, and you're still sitting pretty good. So use it as you will. I'll be entering in this and several variations of this lineup. But yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's a solid lineup. My number one concern, as you mentioned, even though it's 4-1 Green Bay, like if I were to make a 4-1 Green Bay lineup, it's kind of like that would pretty much be the one. I mean, I definitely would have Love there. I'd have Reed. I'd have Kelsey. Um, and then because your new tight end is the cheapest, I'd also go there. It'd be a matter of AJ Dillon and who I put there. So to me, it's a great foundation, uh, like as you mentioned, to build off of. If you were to put that in a single entry type deal and Green Bay wins, I think that has a great shot at making some money. I wouldn't be shocked if Green Bay wins this game, to be honest. I think it is going to be closer than the 8 points. I mean, based on what I saw, again, what Green Bay team is going to show up is really the big question. Um, but yeah, great building block. Yeah, again, the four. This to me, this is if I'm making a four Green Bay one Kansas City lineup. This to me is kind of where I'm starting, and I'm not even a giant Green Bay fan. So the chalkiness of it, as you mentioned, is the main issue. But this is a phenomenal building block, and then again, a single entry, great single entry for sure.
All right.
So with that,
Yeah. So what does everybody think of our lineups here? So we got both of them up on the screen. Let us know down in the comments whether which one you would enter, why you would enter it, or would you enter both of them? We'd like to hear your feedback, or if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just put them down there. We respond to all the comments that are posted. But before we get over to do our famous predictions, that we typically do of the MVP, the value player, and our prediction for the score, I believe David has another announcement for a potential chance for you guys to win some money.
yeah, definitely check the description down below. Once the video is up and going, we will have a link to a 100-person tournament. It is open to the public, so make sure to get into that ASAP before it fills up. It has been filling up every podcast. It's absolutely free. Enter in your lineup to compete with mine and with David's. And if your lineup happens to beat both of ours and you take first place out of the 100 people, all you have to do is just email us and show proof that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will personally Venmo you $100 within 7 days of seeing the proof. So, we're here to have some fun. We want to compete with you guys, and we're here to help you guys make money and make watching football all that much more fun.
Nice. All right. Well, sweet. I hope I win $100. Yeah, I gotta beat myself.
Yeah. Hey, we tied. We did tie.
Yeah. Oh, really? Nice. All right. Well, cool. Going into that, so who do you see as your MVP, your value play, and your game score predictions for this matchup here?
Man, it's so tough. I mean, my MVP is either Pacheco or Jordan Love. I mean, which is crazy to say that I'm not even saying Mahomes out of the two, or Kelsey for that matter. And it's at home. I mean, I guess I'm just it's what is it called? Just recency biased, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go Jordan Love at MVP. Uh, he does a lot, man, and if I feel like he's ready to show up and show out. So I got Jordan Love as the MVP. As far as the low owned, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Gray, the tight end. I know it might seem kind of crazy, but hey, he's 6,000. I promise you, he'll be under 8% owned, probably less than that. It's a great way to open up the other four
Mhm.
positions. You can always make your differences elsewhere. Well, that would be your difference, but also make a difference somewhere else as well if you don't want to tie with 100 million people. Um, and as far as the score of the game, man, I think Green Bay pulls it out at home, and I think they pull it out. I I want to say by a touchdown. Put it this way: they pull it out by a touchdown if it's raining or slushy or snowing. If field conditions are semi-normal or normal, then I got Green Bay by 3.
What was the score?
So by a touchdown if it's crazy, but by 3 points if
What did you say the score was?
so the score, man, I got the score being, man, okay. The Chiefs are gonna score there 14. Chiefs are gonna score 14 in the first half. It could be a 14-14 at the half, and then the second, or actually, Green Bay is the one that turns it on in the second half. Uh, you know what? I'm gonna go. Man, it could be 14-7 at halftime, and then 7, 14. Man, 21. I got 21-14, Green Bay.
All right.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. All right, so heading over to me here, MVP. I'm gonna second your opinion on Jordan Love. I think obviously being less than just having the last two games, he's building that confidence, he's building that connection with his receivers. He's playing at home. They're acclimated to the weather, more than Kansas City is. I think he can do it. So obviously he also does. I see him maybe throwing 2 touchdowns, rushing for 1. So he does have the potential to be, get that MVP. The most raw fantasy points there. As far as my value pick, I think I'm going to use 2 players, but they're basically linked together in this aspect. It's going to be Wicks, the receiver for Green Bay. I believe if he plays, he'll get an opportunity and sit at 8K. I think he'll be a very good value play for somebody. However, he does have a knee injury. He did clear the concussion protocol, so that's not an issue. But now I guess he developed a knee injury, so keep an eye out for that. However, if he does not play, I'm looking way down here in the 5,000s at Malik Heath, who ended up getting, he went 4 for 4 against Detroit because Wick sat out. So at 5,000, he gets you 7 fantasy points. He's looking like an all-star there, because that frees up a ton of salary for your other players. So the potential there too, but obviously keep an eye. If Wicks is playing, then Heath drops down to 5th, and the likelihood of him seeing the field is probably slim to none, especially if they're not passing a whole heck of a lot. And then for game score, obviously, I think I'm going to go Green Bay is going to win this, and I'm not saying that solely based on, obviously I want them to win, but I see them winning this game. Like I said, it's a must-win. This is basically a playoff game for us. Win or go home, or stay home in this case. I think 31-27. Yes, 31-27. I think it'll be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it's,
but I mean, as much as I say that with the asterisk, because if it's the weather and I look at the field conditions, you know what? I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go 24-20 Green Bay. I like that number better.
Okay.
I like that better.
44. 44 because the 40 over under is 43,
yeah,
right?
42 and a half.
42 and a half.
But
okay.
no, yeah, I still think it could be a high scoring game. It's supposed to be clear, but I think keep an eye on it. The weather, the field conditions and things like that. And, it is 20 degrees, wind chill factor over there, so it will have some implications on that. But other than that, that's basically wrapping it up. I hope everybody enjoyed our breakdown of the Kansas City at Green Bay game. Look forward to hearing from you. Please make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, leave a comment down below. We do break down every Thursday night football matchup and Sunday night football matchup, and soon in the near future NBA single games. So you want to make sure not to miss these videos, and then also leave a comment. If you do end up subscribing to the channel, make sure you leave a comment saying that you subscribe. We would like to reach out and start building a community here, and get people's feedback on what's best and what works and what doesn't. So
yeah, go Kings, light the beam. My cousin took me to the Warrior game the other night. Yes, sir. We were down by 24. We came back. We won. We knocked them out of the in-season tournament. We're looking good. We did that without Keegan Murray. So what's up? Light the beam. And we'll be having NBA content not soon enough.
Nice.
All right, guys.
All right.
Good night. Hope you all went out there.
Have a good one. Good luck.